This is the Roller Coaster Podcast, and I'm your host, Lucy Q. Life is a wild ride. It has twists and turns. It's scary, exciting, and downright fun. So throw your head back, arms in the air, and come along with me for the ride.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride.
I always find it inspiring to connect with women who have created a business because they've been trying to solve a problem. Also, women-led businesses tend to be more purpose-driven. They tend to have access to childcare, and they're more likely to offer better pay. Joining me today is Shelley Murphy, an entrepreneur, homeschooling mom, expat, and passionate advocate for mental health and opportunities for women. Shelley created a product called PurDate, a healthy sugar alternative. And she does all of this while living in the heat of an oasis on the edge of the Sahara Desert. Welcome to the roller coaster, Shelley.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Wow, that sounds like quite a story. So maybe we could start off with you sharing, first of all, what led you to North Africa and the story behind developing PurDate.
Sure. Yeah. So it's taken a bit to get here where we are. It's been a long roller coaster, but I can tell you a little bit of that story if we have some time. So yeah, it all began when my family and we moved to North Africa in 2015 to run a language business. And it was after 4 years of growing that business that we took a trip down to the Sahara Desert in the south of the country where we were living. And we visited a date oasis town. And it was during the harvest season in the fall. And locals would come up to our car and they would pass dates through the window for us to try. And I hadn't really eaten very many dates before this, and I was amazed that such delicious and sweet fruit thrives in the middle of an otherwise barren Sahara Desert. I didn't even know before where dates grew or what kind of trees they grew on. So as I asked more questions, I realized that not all of the dates were being sold or shipped off for export. But each year, up to 20% of these dates wouldn't make it to the market due to cosmetics. So the dates would either be thrown away or they would be used for animal feed because either the rain had bruised them, if it did rain, which it does a few times here in the desert a year, not much, or for whatever reason, just cosmetically, they didn't look nice. They still tasted the same. So the more time I spent here in the oasis on the edge of the Sahara Desert, the more I fell in love with it. It's a beautiful place in its own regard, and it's really an ideal ambiance for spiritual reflection. And I just felt so much peace in this place. And we wanted to find a way to bless the vibrant people we were meeting. So we went home, and after our trip, and while I was caring for my nephews, an idea hit me of how we could do this. So let me just backtrack a little bit. Shortly after we moved overseas, my sister, she needed help caring for her two boys, ages 9 and 11, while she was active in the military. And because my nephews didn't know Arabic at the time that they moved in with us, they couldn't go to local schools. So I took on homeschooling them. I'd never done that before, but I didn't really have much of a choice. And one of my nephews was really struggling with school due to ADHD, attention deficit disorder. And I wanted to help him be able to focus and to have less emotional swings throughout the day due to the frustration he was experiencing. And at that time, he was taking a heavy dose of Ritalin in order to help him focus in school. And I didn't like how it changed his personality, and it made him just really melancholy. And so that's when I started researching anything I could about ADHD, and I looked for more natural ways to support him. And many of the research studies that I stumbled on, it discussed like how diet and specifically how sugar can actually impact your mood swings and the symptoms associated with ADHD. And I had discovered date sugar while we were on our trip to the desert, but it was hard to find in country as well as in America. It was hard to find. So I experimented with making date sugar myself from upcycled dates. So what I would do is I would dry them in the sun on my roof because they have like flat roofs here. So a lot of people will do like hang their laundry up on the roof or whatever. And so I would dry the dates on the roof. And then when they were dry enough, I'd grind them into the consistency of sugar with like a coffee grinder, because I wanted to keep them minimally processed. I didn't want to put them in an oven. So I would use the sugar as a substitute whenever a recipe would call for white sugar. And it was, to my surprise, I discovered that date sugar was really tasty and it was good for baking as well as cooking. And the more research I did, I discovered that dates are a superfruit and they're loaded with fiber, antioxidants, like 45 times more antioxidants. It's almost as many antioxidants that you're going to find in berries. There's also like more potassium in an ounce of bananas than in an ounce of dates than an ounce of bananas. And it had iron, and it was totally plant-based. So for me, this was paradigm shifting. Instead of feeling guilty about feeding my kids, I can actually feel good about giving them this sugar. And because the sugar that comes from the fruits would digest slowly, my nephew wouldn't experience that unwanted sugar crash that we all get from processed sugars. And it's also good, obviously, it's good for people with diabetes because it has a low glycemic index. So for this reasons, they don't experience the sugar crashes. So then I just started trying to focus on incorporating whole foods in our diets for my nephew. But then I found also that it was helping our entire family feel better as well. So in doing this, we just cut out white processed sugar altogether, and it increased my nephew's ability to focus. And we were actually able to cut down on his medication by 4 times. And we were able to catch up on 2 years worth of school in just 1 year. And really, I saw far less emotional outbursts from him throughout the day. And what was cool about this is we could still have fun rewards in our house, like cookies and things like that, because they were made with date sugar. And so that's when I knew we had a winning product. And we moved our family to the small desert town where the dates come from after that. And because we wanted to share this secret with the rest of the world and let people know everywhere that they're not alone in this sugar struggle and that there truly is a better alternative out there. And my husband and I were both really driven people. We're entrepreneurially minded. So we moved our family to the small desert town where we live now. And we intentionally did this so that we could share the hope with the sweet people here. Instead of taking the work and the jobs away from an economically neglected place, we wanted to focus on being a blessing to our community. So through our company called PurDate, we're able to make a real and a tangible difference in people's lives. And just some of the ways we do this, we mostly hire women. 75% of the people who work for us are women, and we provide them with year-long meaningful employment with benefits. And this is not the norm here. Most people work seasonally here during the date season, but we're able to employ them year-round. We're able to pay above the average wage in an area where unemployment is high and low-paid seasonal employment is the norm. Most of our employees, they're women trying to earn a living for their families, and we want to empower them to make a brighter future possible for them and their children. And one way we do that is we run English camps for the youth in our community. So we partner with another company to bring in teachers to teach English. So these children will have more opportunities in their future. And one thing we just started doing recently, which has been really fun, as my daughter's gymnastics coach. We've been bringing her to the factory 2 mornings a week, and we'll just do some stretching and some exercises in the morning before the ladies start work. And for me, that's just personally been really fun to do that with them. So kind of what we say at PurDate is we're committed to sweetening the lives of everyone we come in contact with. So our desire is like behind and in front of every package of PurDate sugar. A transformed life is possible. So it's not just for the consumer, but it's also for the ladies making our date sugar.
Wow. that is a crazy story. I mean, I guess the first question I have is, what was it like not only just building a business in North Africa, but also, building a business as a woman?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously, there's a lot of obstacles in building a business. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. But yeah, for women, I feel like probably the hardest part is just, you have so many roles in the home. And so you have the role of a wife and of a mom. And I have three small girls, ages 7 and down to 14 months old. And so I think just trying to find good balance in life and do start a business and put energies into the business, but also make sure that you're spending as much time with your children and investing in them as well. So I think that's been, that's probably been one of the most challenging things because living cross culturally is just harder. We have to learn Arabic. We speak Arabic here, a little bit of French, but we don't really speak French. So the local language is Arabic. My daughter is in the local schools here. So supporting her takes up a large part of my time. So finding time to do business can be challenging sometimes. So I run a lot of the marketing side of PurDate, and then my husband runs a lot of the operations side of it. So yeah, we definitely work together on this business for sure.
So when you first started and you were, looking in the community to have people work for you, did you have any problems or challenges around having people trust you?
For sure. Yeah, I would say that was probably and still is one of the biggest obstacles. So it takes a couple years to develop relationships with people and for people to trust you. And I think we're definitely at that point with the ladies that have worked for us. So all the ladies that have worked for us have been with us since the beginning, since we started just 2 years ago here. And I think we've definitely built that relationship of trust with one another. And I think that has helped. And whenever you do business overseas, you really have to rely on the local people because you don't know what's going on a lot of the time. And you don't know why things are being done the way they're being done. And you don't know who to hire. And you need to trust them as much as they need to trust you to tell you, like, who are the people we should hire, who can we trust in the community. And so there are gatekeepers into the community that we were introduced to early on that I would credit most of our success has been because of them, because we could have had some really bad experiences and not done very well, but because we were fortunate enough to meet the right people, we were able to be where we are now. So yeah.
How, you said that you've created these jobs, these year-round jobs in a community where unemployment was high and jobs tended to be seasonal. How has, long-term consistent employment changed the lives of the women and the face of the community?
That is a good question too. Okay, so we'll take, for example, one of our ladies. She has a daughter who is in college, and her daughter is able to get a computer because she has this job. And her daughter is able to go to school, to go to university because she has this job. And so I think that, people are watching us closely in the community because we are foreigners. We're the only foreigners that live in this town and have probably ever lived in this town. It's pretty far out there. And so they are watching us closely. And when they see that the employees' lives and the lives of their children are able to be improved and of better quality because they get this income from their work that they do, I think that, yeah, it does give us credibility and an ability to stay here long term in this community.
And and I'm sure you started this business in 2015. So I'm sure in a few years' time, you're going to start to really see the impact of how people's lives have changed when, they're they're able to prosper in their
Mhm.
communities?
Well, we started a language business in 2015, and then we started PurDate just 2 years ago. So
Okay.
PurDate is still newer, so we're still seeing the results of that. But I will say some of the comments from the ladies at that work for us have been that we were actually respected at this company, whereas before where we weren't respected. We were looked down on, and we were yelled at, and we were shamed. It's a shame-based culture. And so a lot of times, if in order to correct someone, you shame them in front of everyone else as a motivation. My daughter talks about this when she comes home from school in second grade,
Oh,
how the teacher will stand the student up in front of class and read what they wrote and say how it's not good. And that's supposed to motivate the student to do better next time. And so that's just kind of something that's embedded in the culture here. And so the ladies are actually feeling heard and respected. And we also ask their ideas. So when we have a problem, we help them think critically and how to solve it, or how to come to us with ideas, and we actually hear from them and listen to them. And so they have said before, because we've actually set up a rubrics to measure our social impact. And I think it's every term, every quarter, we're able to sit down with them for 3 weeks in a row and ask some questions of them and pull some of these things out, like, how are we actually impacting your life? And they'll say, my husband, one lady said, well, before, my husband didn't want me to have a job, and he didn't like me going to work, and he didn't like the hours. But then I told him going to work is like going to my father's house, because I feel comfortable there and I'm treated well. And ever since she told her husband that, he encourages her to go to work and he supports her in this work. And so that's huge, that women can have dignity, that they can gain dignity from their work. And one of our core values is work is worship. And in everything that we do it with excellence. And so even our work is something that God created us to do. And so we should find joy in it. It shouldn't be something that we should dread doing, but something we should look forward to doing. And so that is our goal, is to, like, for our ladies to come to work and be excited about it and feel like they have a voice and feel like they're respected and they're heard. And from what the ladies are telling us, that is how they feel. And so that's our goal here.
so you've really empowered the women of a community in a way that would never have happened. It was probably such a foreign concept to them.
Yeah.
They probably didn't believe you, and
Yeah. And
thought, oh,
yeah.
like, what's the catch?
Yes. Well, yeah, there might have been some of that. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do know that they're very appreciative to have this job. And like I said, we have the same ladies with us that we started with 2 years ago. So I think that says something, and speaks in volumes as to how they feel about working for us. So yeah, we're just we're grateful to get to know them and to live in this place and to just have a small impact in a small place.
By the sounds of it, I think you have a little bit more than a small impact, because you're also you're empowering women, you're creating opportunities that never existed. But then on the food waste side of things, you'd mentioned that 20% of the dates that are harvested don't actually make it to market. But
Mhm.
you've now found a reason even for the bruised and unloved dates.
Right. And I think this is becoming more of a trend in the States. There's a company called Ugly, and it takes, I think it takes peaches and some other fruits that are just would otherwise be put in the landfills and the waste field and thrown away, and dries them out. And I think people are realizing how much food is being wasted now. And so to us, it's really important that we utilize those, and the farmers get paid for the dates. So normally they wouldn't get paid for the dates. They would just go to waste. And so it helps them as well get more money for their crop, and which is important. This year has been a really tough year. It's been really dry. And so there's even more dates that are going to be wasted this year. So we are in the process of developing relationships with the smaller farmers, and just like seeing how we can help them do better irrigation systems and just be more environmentally friendly, and how we can help them and invest in them as individuals as well. And I will say, I'll go back to the ladies. I think most of them probably didn't graduate from school. I think maybe some of them did, but I think most of them don't have even a high school education. And so for them to be able to have a job like this, and then to have a better, like one of their daughters wants to be a lawyer and another one wants to be a doctor. And so I would love to see them go on to be those things. And I think that would make, their mom so proud to see that.
And, it probably wasn't a possibility before, but now that they're seeing the family has the extra income, and her daughters also have a female role model. They have their mom out there doing something that, they've probably never seen other women do before in such a positive environment, that this is, it's definitely going to have a ripple effect.
Yeah, well, yes, that is our goal. I hope so.
Now, for your product, where's it available?
At the moment, it's on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon, and you can also find it on our website. So those two places. We are trying to get in more to the bigger stores. But like I said, we're only 2 years old, so it's taking some time to do that. So hopefully we'll be on the shelves soon in your local grocery store. But right now, those two places you can find us.
And, obviously, if your product is made, in North Africa, is it, we can still get it in because you said it's on Amazon. Can we still get it in North America?
Yes, we ship to North America, and we have a warehouse there that we ship things to Amazon, and then we can ship directly to you as well.
Okay. And as we wrap up, Shelley, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so I just want to encourage the women out there who have great ideas to go for it. If you had asked me 10 years ago if we would be where we are here, I would have told you there's no way. But I think we just kind of took one step at a time, and we didn't try to look at the whole big picture all at once, but just a little bit at a time. And I also just want to say about date sugar, what we eat does affect how we feel. And when we feel good, we are empowered to reach our potential. And so being more mindful of what we put into our bodies. And I think this generation really is starting to pay attention to what we put into our bodies, because we realize sugar is in almost everything when we look at the labels. But I think just being more mindful of what we put into our bodies is important, and it does affect how we feel.
Definitely. To get your own supply of PurDate, make sure you check out the show notes. I'm going to have some links in there. And Shelley, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Roller Coaster Podcast. Want to chat or share your ideas about today's show? Pop me an email at hello@therollercoasterpodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at The Roller Coaster Podcast. Our theme song, Roller Coaster, was performed by The Lucky Setback. Audio editing by the one and only Jeff Quigley of Quigley Creative.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Life is like a roller coaster, baby.